was here on the set yesterday, and I took the prayer request with me. And sometimes I will find time to read them and sort them out by myself sometime in the afternoon after church. And other times I'm busy and I don't get around to it until the next morning when I'm sitting and doing my devotionals. And so it happened like that. I was sitting going through the prayer requests this morning. And it seems like there was a common theme. You know, sometimes I think everybody suffers from different things, but you can almost put a common perspective on it. And it's a lot of you are being buffeted. And when I was reading the prayer request, that's what came to my mind, is here's a person being buffeted by sickness, and here's another person being buffeted by other issues, and you can kind of get the idea of where I'm going. And I kept thinking about this word buffeting, and that led me to go look up the word, which I knew I had studied previously, but you know, it's interesting when you look up that word. The Greek has the word as to punch with the fist. And then I looked up all the other occurrences of this word, and I thought to myself, that's kind of a lot of times what I think happens to people, is they feel like they've been punched, you know, like you received a blow you didn't expect, whether it's a sickness or something you're going through. And I kept thinking about this passage, which doesn't really exist. It's me paraphrasing something that Paul wrote. But essentially, when he was talking about the fact that we're often not down but not out, that whole passage that talks about how we're almost to the brink of, but not all the way. And I think that's what, as we progress in our faith, it's not going to be like we're going to be on autopilot and nothing can make a dent in us or get us down. But I think as I was reading the prayer request, that's what it seemed to me like. A lot of people have been punched with the fist. And you can take that as the devil's being very active. Some of you are just, you know, can't understand what's going on. And I think I started really just to pray for those people to have more faith, to be strengthened in the faith. And interestingly enough, I was going to sit down here and talk about that, but I decided I would just mention it because there's enough of you out there going through the things you're going through, and some of you are going through some scary things. When I say scary things, like, you know, the unknown is worse than the known. You're waiting for a blood test to come back, or you've had a test and you don't exactly know what's to be done. Mostly a lot of it is regarding people's health, some of it's financial crisis, but a lot of it is in the health department. You know, you don't know what's going on. And I just thought, no, I just need to pray for those people, obviously foremost for their faith, but to be healed. And I will faith to see these people turn around and say, the Lord brought me through, strengthened and fortified. This too shall pass. So just kind of a little word of encouragement to those who are struggling. And there's an endless supply of those things. I can tell you, somebody shared a story with me which I had to sit and talk to God for a little while about this. It disturbed me. This is a friend of mine who I've known for many years. She just had her third child. And while she was having her third child, a friend of hers was having her third child as well. So I don't know this friend of a friend. But this baby was born, not to my girlfriend, but to her friend. This baby was born perfectly like a normal baby. Everything, all the parts are there. And they take the baby in to give it some shots. And literally within an hour or so of receiving the shot, at least one of these, I don't know if it infarcted a nerve or what happened, but the baby's leg began to turn blue and then white. And anyways, they ended up having to amputate the baby's leg. And when she was telling me this, and I don't even know this person, all I could do was spend the next couple of hours in prayer for the child and for the mother and for the family, because it was something that didn't need to happen. Then I sat for a long time asking God, because in my mind, I can make sense of certain things. Like, I'm 50, you live long enough, something's going to happen to you, most likely. And it could even rationalize a life being cut off at a certain point that's at least lived a little bit. But that's just a baby. And this didn't need to happen. And so it's kind of interesting, because I sat just kind of talking to God about this. I don't know if you ever have these types of things. It's not my child, it's not even somebody I know, but I was so burdened by it that I just sat and talked to God about it. And strangely enough, my friend sent me a message saying that the mother, after they had induced the baby into a coma so that it could heal, and now the baby is home, the mother is in good spirits and, is positive about, the child. And I just kept thinking, I just need to keep praying for that family, even though I don't even know them, because of that. And it's interesting how sometimes the Lord will bring something like this to a burden in somebody, it's a burden in my heart to pray for these people that I don't know. Just as much as a burden to pray for the people that when I read your prayer request and I see there's a need, that same burden is there. And it's interesting because God didn't speak to me in some audible way that I could wrap my mind around this, but I just kept coming back to this concept that somehow God enters in. It's hard sometimes to even kind of put that there and say, but how? But I'm sure the Lord will enter in. In this case, I almost feel that being told the story was God entering in to let me begin to pray and have a burden for this family. But this is the way it is. There's never a time when it's going to be just one straight line and no bumps in the road. And you have to almost take from this and say, Lord, I'm not happy for the situation, but I'm grateful for the ability to be able to pray for this family or for my family here. And so I just want you to know there's not a time when I don't have burdens like this, that I see the things that you're going through. Some of them make me shake my head, and again, I don't always share this type of thing, but I do. I'll have conversations with God and ask certain questions about, I know, okay, we're in your hand and we're in your care, but why, Lord? I'm sure we've all sat and done that. And I'm not ashamed in front of you to say that. That's just the way it is. And then you get clarity again that somehow, in some dimension, God will enter into this thing and work it out for His good. The good part of it, I don't know, except that He will enter in. So for the rest of you out there, keep faithing and keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, because obviously for those that have been under attack, the devil is relentless in making sure that we're kind of kept back to the ropes or on the floor for a little while until you get up again. But you get up. You don't stay there. Now, I need you to get on the telephone and make your reservations, make your commitments. I know there's folks out there that are listening that have never called in. I'm asking you right now to call in and let me know you're watching. The Voices of Faith that are here will ask you what city or state you're calling from. And if you just simply tell them you don't have a King's House number, there's no further questions that they're going to ask you, because that's one of the questions they might ask you. That's all. No further questions. I just want to know you're out there. It's nice to know that you can call in and I can receive those messages right now. So I want you to get on the telephone right now.
Come to this house.